It says you're live.
I was just waiting to see if you did anything.
Oh, I looked at you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Hope everybody's doing good tonight. We're going to get started here in a little bit. But first, while we're waiting, we can go ahead and say hello to some people out there. Let's see. Right at the top, we've got Roddy from Roddy Woodworking. And we are very excited because him and his wife are going to be going on our group cruise.
Yeah.
And we got to talk to them in person. And, once again, we were just proven that everyone we meet in the cruising community is just freaking awesome. So great to meet you guys, and so happy you're going to join us on the group cruise.
Speaking of them, I do want to point out, I don't know if you've even noticed it, but I did put the plaque that he made us on our background.
It's kind of hard to see back there.
But I didn't know if
dark,
you even knew that.
No, I noticed it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was looking for where to put Steve, I saw it.
Got it.
And we got, of course, Professor Travel. We do have the link for you, Scott.
Yeah, I sent it in Facebook Messenger.
So that is there for you when you are ready. And then we can bring you in, when we come on. We got Meg in the house. Hello, Meg.
Hi, Meg.
Meg's been putting out some videos with her and Paul. Paul's been putting them out too of their cruise. So look for those. And looks like they had a lot of fun. We got these Australian folks here. 5 days until the plane ride.
That's a lot of days.
That's not really a lot of days.
Not really.
I was going to say Sean can count that high because it's less than days and he has fingers.
Less days than he has.
So, yeah, if it was like 12.
Oh, so you think he can't count more than his fingers?
I don't really think
but
that.
You know what? I think you're full of it because he thinks my background is awesome.
Does he now?
So I think he can count to 1 million.
As long as it's 1 million points for your background. Let's see. But he says they're definitely not excited. Why didn't that come up? Oh, yeah, definitely not excited. Just saying. Yes, I don't believe that either. Let's see what else we got going on.
He said he's got 11 fingers.
He has 11?
That's what he said.
Don't count the one in the middle lower. All right. We got Scott, I said, in the house, and now he's in the green room. So I'm going to wave to Scott in the green room.
Put something in the private chat. Yes.
And
Meg said my hair looks nice. Yeah, it's a mess. I'm getting it redone Monday, so it'll be fresh for the cruise. So right now it's just like I gave up on it.
Scott's trying to get Sean to come on our group cruise.
I think he should.
I know that he would love to, but I also know that money is a real thing that people have to have, and he'd have to have a lot of it to come back to the States that soon. But we would love to have him here if you do win the lottery or something like that. And we got Stacy in the house. Hello, Stacy. Good to see you here. See what else we got going on here.
I'm going to also say hi to Gina if she just happens to be there as well.
Yes, hello, Gina.
And if she's not, then I'm going to say hi to Invisible Gina.
Stacy has already found Steve. Ocean to Ocean Travel. Hello. Thank you for
welcome
joining us. Bon Beanie, as they say in Curacao. The Gaylors. Hello, Gaylors. And they also see Steve.
Apparently you didn't hide him very well today.
I thought I did a pretty good job, but
before.
He probably has. Looking at him in the camera, yeah, he's not that well hidden, but
yeah.
I thought I did better. Maybe I'll re-hide him when we do the credits or something like that. Let's see what we've got. There's 11 fingers. We got Aaron Sims in the house. Hello, Aaron.
You know who that is, right?
It's one of the Aarons?
Yeah. I'm just making sure.
Yeah. We also met them.
We did.
Well, we've met them before, technically, for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But we actually got to hang out with them virtually and talk about their upcoming cruise,
which
they're going on.
leaves Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And also that was like, what was that? That was Tuesday night we talked to Aaron and Aaron.
Yep.
And then Wednesday night we talked to the Roddies, and it was like 2 awesome experiences.
And then we talked to Todd and Patty.
Well, yes, and we of course already knew Todd and Patty were awesome from talking to them. But yes, that was also did not let us down, of course.
Did you get Paul? Your stuff scrolled, I think.
Yeah. Hello, Paul.
We've got Paul Vines in the house.
Paul Vines, the one I was talking about. Check out his videos. He puts out a lot of videos, and he's been putting out some from he and Meg's cruise, which is cool.
I need to answer the question. I was just waiting for you to get to it.
No, that's cool. Kimbra, how are you feeling after Voldemort?
I'm feeling better.
Voldemort? Oh. The virus that shall go unnamed? Is that what we're doing?
Oh, maybe. I didn't gather that, but that works. Yeah, I'm definitely doing better. So I even went to the gym. Well, supposed to be twice this week, but one of those didn't happen. So I even did like a workout.
Huh? Yeah, Aaron's leaving tomorrow. The Aarons are leaving tomorrow.
Yes.
And
they've got their snorkel
praying
gear
for some
packed.
good weather. Yeah, I think you'll be okay. What was it? It was a 5-night cruise.
Mm-hmm. Nassau and
Saturday,
Princess Key.
So you get Sunday, Monday, Tuesday,
Thursday.
I'm just trying to figure out where the storm is.
It's on our coast. It's not where she's going.
Yeah, it might not be the best weather, but
yeah.
I think you'll be all right. And they may divert you to someplace else if they need to. Hey, we got the Ford man in the house. Hey, Kenny, we seeing you soon, buddy. Looking forward to that. And he is typing through his phone, so he's not lagging. Yeah, we did Lovey's live last night, and he had trivia. I think we were lagging because we were on the Apple TV. So
we got most of the questions right.
All but one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one we got wrong was about like the year of a composer composing.
Yeah.
And I knew it, and I said it, and then I was like, oh no, it's that one. And then, but it doesn't matter. I said the wrong thing. Thank you, Kenny, for sharing our stuff. We got Tony G, 1975.
Hello, Tony.
Hello, Tony. Thank you for joining us. We've got, let's see, we got Cruising Scene in the house. Hello, Cruising Scene. Thank you for coming by. Ooh, my mouse is like, I'm struggling with the mouse here.
Are you?
A rainy day cruise is, yeah, see, I'm like struggling. A rainy day on a cruise is better than a sunshine day at work. That is very accurate.
Meg said she napped through Lovey's live. I mean, naps are cool.
Naps are important, I think. She said she accidentally napped.
Yeah.
So
I want to tell everyone on here, we do have a super awesome guest that will be coming on. He's down in the green room right now. And from what I can see, it looks like we have some hair growth. So it's fun. Like on his head.
Oh.
Yeah. Because normally he looks kind of like you.
My hair's coming in, but look at that.
Yeah, but yours looks nothing like his.
It also looks gray. It's getting grayer and grayer every day.
Stacy likes your hat.
Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's Curacao, but I do like this hat quite a bit, and it's really kind of got like the raised. It's cool.
I almost bought a new hat today.
Did you?
I went to the gift shop, and they have a really cute little kid's hat, and it fit me really nicely, and it's super cute. So I'll probably buy it tomorrow or Monday.
I was gonna say, if you buy it tomorrow, you're on your own because I ain't going to work tomorrow.
But it's like not only in the kids section, it's like in the baby kids section. But it fit my head perfectly.
Well, there you go. All right. Yeah, we do have a cool guest. Scott is going to be on here. He's been on here before. We're glad to have him back and talking about the Mediterranean.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff. So that's going to be cool.
Yes, Meg. I have a small head too. So I just can't buy hats I always have to look for kid hats, and it's kind of a pain. So I just don't usually wear them.
See, what you need is some 1980s big hair.
You want me to have big hair?
Not really, but I mean, if you did, you could compensate for the smaller cranium with some hair foliage, and then. But no, I don't really. That's not like a part of the 80s that I attached to. I had the spiky hair. I didn't have the big hair. Or, well, I mean, some guys had big hair. I did have feathered hair, like in my junior high school days.
My hair has always been like this. Just like boring and straight and bleh.
Your hair's nothing's wrong with your hair.
Just saying.
Okay. All right.
And it holds nothing.
It's not supposed to hold stuff. That's your hands are for holding.
Okay.
I got the new Apple Watch, which is I know you can't. It's in always on, but
I can see it.
So that's pretty exciting. I was excited about it. It's got a depth gauge on it, so hopefully tomorrow we're gonna hit Lithia Springs, which is not too far from us, and it's not very deep. I don't know. The water might be up though right now. It might be like 10.
We haven't been there
12 feet if
in
we're
a long
lucky.
time.
Last time I was there, the water was like 5 or 6 feet.
It was real low last
real
time.
Shallow. But I'm hoping that it'll be a little bit higher, just so I can make sure the depth gauge is working. Because there's going to be a dive computer app coming out for it, but it's not out yet. I'm hoping it'll be out for October because I really want to use it and try it as a dive computer and not just a depth gauge. But the depth gauge is really what I'm most excited about, to be honest.
Stacy, are you doing a different color in your hair next time? I am sticking to purple right now because I want purple for the group cruise in October. But after that purple kind of fades, I may be going to something different.
So maybe different on the March cruise.
It might be different on the March cruise.
We shall see. We shall see.
Depends on how I'm feeling.
Meg says, nice. I would break that or lose it quickly. I hope not, because it's really expensive watch. Definitely the most expensive watch I bought. However, my dive computer, which is only a dive computer, was more expensive than my Apple
significantly.
Watch. Almost twice as much.
Not really. Almost.
No.
Not really.
But it was significantly more.
I'd say 1.5 times as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. And Sean says, nice to see you recognize Melbourne time on your watch. Yeah. See, Sean, I don't have to do the math anymore.
I've got it on my phone.
Although I've gotten quite good at it. I think I had it on my phone too, but I've gotten quite good at it. Here's the deal, Sean. I'm going to be honest with you. I used to be really impressed with your math skills. Every time you would know what time it is here in the Eastern time zone, just like that. And I was like, wow, how does he do that? And then I realized you're just for us, we're just adding 12 plus 2.
Right.
And then I was less impressed, but I'm still impressed because actually you have to subtract. And I think subtracting is harder.
Or
than adding.
he probably has an app that like
No.
tells him.
No. I just gave him some trouble. I'm going to give him credit. I saw that man spit out time zones like a freaking computer.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, you know what time it is?
It's 8:31.
Okay. Go ahead and
I can even tell you my latitude and longitude.
You know what? I don't think that's necessary right now because then anybody will know how to find us.
I mean, that's probably not too hard, but yeah, I know it's time to start the podcast.
Come with me, we're going on a Fintastic Cruise. Pick your destination with news, tips, and reviews. But here is an item you might not have thought of. All of the things under the water. Nature surrounds us with elegant features. You can't go on a cruise and not see the creatures. So let's make some magic. Let's get ecstatic. Instantly classic. Maybe romantic. The wildlife around you. Cinematic on your Fintastic Cruise.
Bon Beanie, thank you for joining us on another episode of Fintastic Cruising. I am Matt.
And I'm Kimbra.
And we're going to do this in fast forward.
So you said that like super weird.
I thought, I was like, I don't know. I'm like a little low energy right now. So I'm trying to
slow down, man.
see, I'm trying to rev it up a little bit. Like we got on and I was just like, hey, what's up, dude? I think it's because we're talking to Scott today and he's from California. So I got to get in the California mood, dude, like totally chill out, relax, man.
I'm like super excited for his hair. I love his hair. I know that's weird. Do you have anything to talk about first?
No, well, yes, one thing I think, just one. Well, we can talk about the group cruise.
Can I move this? It's not in the camera because you're in front of it. Thanks.
We can talk about the group cruise, but also I just want to make a quick announcement. Next Friday, this coming Friday, you have family in town.
We have family in town?
Well, I mean, they're not legally my family.
Okay. Sure, that's fine.
Look at me digging a hole.
I'll hang out with my family while you do your own thing.
No, look. We're not doing our podcast on Friday. However, I had agreed to go on to Larry's YouTube channel to talk about sharks.
Which you scheduled after you knew my mom was coming.
That's not exactly true. I had talked to Larry way before that. Anyway, I will be on Larry's YouTube channel, which I haven't seen him in here in the chat, but if I do, I'm going to tell him to make sure and put a link to that in the Fintastic Cruising community over on Facebook, because Larry loves sharks, and so he wants to talk about sharks, and obviously I like to talk about sharks. So when I do that, I'll be talking about sharks, and then we'll hang out with the fam.
Okay.
We got the whole weekend.
That's fine.
It'll be good.
That's fine.
All right. And then finally, the group cruise.
The group cruise.
We booked some more people on. Well, we booked some more people, and then we have some other people that are possibly going to book. It just keeps getting better and better. The cast is constantly growing, and it's growing in positive ways. We're meeting the quality of people that are already booked with new people that are booking as well.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Cool. So the group cruise, here it is. It's leaving out of Tampa on the Carnival Pride on March 12th through 19th of the year 2023.
In the year of the Lord 2023.
And it is going to Grand Cayman.
It's going to Roatan.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, never mind.
Roatan?
No, like
Roatan.
Like I say Grand Cayman and you say in the Cayman Islands.
In the Cayman Islands.
And it's going to Roatan.
In Roatan. Honduras.
This is not working. And it's going to Belize.
In Belize.
It's going to Cozumel.
In Quintana Roo, Mexico.
So if you want to book that group cruise, send me an email at fantastictravel@gmail.com. Oh, my watch just gave me a notification that I need to remember that I'm going live 5 minutes ago.
Okay. That's good.
Anyway, so speaking of that group cruise, Matt.
Yes.
Our guest is going to be on that.
Our guest is going to be on that.
You want to say hi to him?
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to bring him on? Is that what you're saying?
I was going to. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's ready. He's not listening at all.
He's ready. No, just bring him on anyway.
I'm just kidding.
Whoa, dudes. What's going on?
You're like living up to the California thing, right?
Right. Like totally, man. Absolutely. Yeah.
Are you, actually, I don't remember. Are you from California your whole life, or did you move there?
Yeah, I actually grew up in Southern California. I was here for about 35 years, and then with the college I was with at the time, I ended up moving all over the United States. So at one point I was in Jersey City, right across from Manhattan. At another point I was in Columbia, Maryland, between Baltimore and DC, and then I moved in Phoenix, and I decided to come back here to retire. So love it, love it, love it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you did West Coast, East Coast, and now you're back in the West Coast.
Absolutely. Can I bring up the elephant in the room here? Just really briefly.
Yeah.
So a couple of months ago, I was doing the Fantastic Cruising show. Well, actually, I was in the chat, and I had made mention of something, and I think I said something like, "Oh, I love your hair," and I was talking to Kimbra, and like Matt was like, "Oh, thanks. I do my best to like keep it," and I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, and don't you have short hair too?" And I'm like, I had short hair, but it's not. But it's by choice, and so I wanted to grow it out a little bit to demonstrate that hey, I got some swag going on here, so thanks.
So,
I love it. I
wait,
love curls. They
are-
make me happy.
Are you telling me you grew your hair out just to prove a point?
Just to prove a point. Just to prove a point.
Well done. Well played,
Thank you.
sir. Well played.
Months in the making.
Well, those of you that don't know who Scott is, he has a more common alias. That's not the right word I'm looking for. His
How about his
superhero name?
His AKA.
Yeah, which is the Professor Travel. And Scott, why don't you tell the people out there all about the Professor Travel, and outside of tonight or whenever you're listening, where you can find you?
Well, I really appreciate that. So I am known as Professor of Travel. I am actually a professor of international business, global business management. And so I decided to put together a YouTube channel a few years ago in order to log my travels, but also be that source for a lot of people who want to live vicariously through my adventures. And so it was kind of a really fun opportunity for me to put it out there. And then I've had the opportunity to, make great friends in not only the cruising community, but the travel community in general. And as well, get them on both my YouTube channel as well as my podcast. So it's been a great opportunity. Been off for a couple months now, but I am posting a little bit of smaller video content. Haven't posted any of the videos for Greece yet, so those are coming up really quick here. But I'm already getting ready for my next cruise in less than 2 weeks. So going to jump on that fast.
What is your next cruise?
So it's out of Long Beach, California here. I'm going to be jumping on the Navigator of the Seas for my 50th birthday. And so I'm kidnapping a bunch of my friends with me, and we're just going to go on. And one of my friends, she is having her 50th birthday as well, and she does not know that we're all going. So it's just her husband is like, yeah, we'll just go and have a fun time and just jump on the Navigator of the Seas, and we're all going to show up and like, surprise, and just like, what better to give than the gift of a heart attack? That's what my
what a crazy random happenstance. We all booked the same cruise as you.
Oh my gosh, it's almost like a group cruise in a way.
Well, that's cool. That's really cool. And of course, you will be on our group cruise. So people that do watch tonight, you will have an opportunity, if you go on the group cruise, to hang out with not just us, but also with Scott, which is also going to be extra cool. So we are really excited and stoked that you guys are coming on our group cruise. All right. Should we get into tonight's topic?
We can. I just real quick want to say, Ed is saying thanks for getting them booked on our group cruise. And I want to say you're welcome, and we are excited to have you. And then Meg said, Professor and Kidnapper, interesting combination.
Wow. I hope I don't get labeled that forever. That was a poor choice of words on my part. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I think Professor X was bald, wasn't he? That's the X-Man guy.
Yeah. Now I have to shave my head for it. According to the movies, I think it was kind of a botched experiment with Apocalypse, as I understand it correctly. So we'll see.
All right. Okay. All right. So Scott, we brought you on because you guys went to the Mediterranean and sailed around. That is a Mediterranean cruise that you did, right? I know you were in the Mediterranean, but you went, was it all what's considered Mediterranean?
It was a combination of the Mediterranean Sea and the Ionian Sea is what they refer to it as.
Okay.
So I had already previously done a Mediterranean cruise in 2019, which covered a good healthy amount of Italy and going around the boot all the way, starting in Rome and going to Venice. This one covered most of the Greek islands, or at least the bigger Greek islands, as well as a couple of stops in Turkey, and that was really kind of cool. The thing that really made it a very special cruise for me, apart from being there with my partner, was that this was originally booked as a 7-day cruise. And the price point was really good. The Greek cruises in general right now are really kind of inexpensive for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. But then we got a notification from Norwegian, it was the Norwegian Jade that we were on. and they had indicated to us, hey, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but there's been a modification to your itinerary. Instead of it being a 7-day cruise, it's now unfortunately it's going to be a 9-day cruise. I'm like, unfortunately. So they're like, if you would like to cancel the cruise, by all means, you can certainly do so. Otherwise, we're going to compliment you on two extra days in your whatever room you have. And we were already in a suite, so we're like, okay, yeah.
Nice.
I guess we'll just have to skip those additional days in Athens, but hey, why not? You know.
I was going to say that could be a problem if you had like a flight out immediately after or something like that. But
so funny thing about that too is because United Airlines had already made a modification to my itinerary, I just called them back and said, that new itinerary that you booked for me is just not going to work for me. I now need to modify that free of charge.
Nice.
That was really awesome. So that was kind of fun.
Living right. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I kind of gave myself a little bit of a heart attack. So we flew in the day of the cruise. So that if there was any possible miss for us, that was going to throw us off. And so unfortunately, that was like causing me a little bit of anxiety. So we flew in the day of in the morning, but we had enough time to just get from Athens to Piraeus, which is the cruise port. And by the time we arrived, they were already starting to board guests, and they were like, yeah, come on board. We're no big deal.
Huh. That is a bold move. Not only flying day of, but flying to Europe day of. That's
from California. That's a little bit of a distance.
Yes, that's a little further than like the East Coast even. So how long of a flight was that actually?
So we flew from LAX to Washington, D.C. That was 5 hours. And then from there, 1 hour layover. And then from Washington, D.C. to Piraeus, which is another 8.5 hours. So
okay. That's not actually as bad as I thought, but
then there's the time change.
Oh yeah.
So then you like lose a bunch of time too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kimber's got that right.
Yeah. But still, yeah, that's okay. So when you got there, what time would it have been California time, and what time was it?
Oh, like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, so we had that whole like lagging time change. We're like, okay, this is going to be challenging. I need to try and stay up so that way I can get my bearings, and that way we won't be having the weird, jet lag situation. But we got on the Jade. It was a really smooth transition to get on board. The Jade, for those who have not been on it or have not seen it, is a fairly mid-sized ship. It's about the capacity is about 2,400, and because of, again, we weren't necessarily told why it was that they had changed the itinerary, but we suspected that maybe it might have been, what is it? What is the nude cruise that you had that knocked us out of the original? What is it called again?
Oh, and it was chartered.
Yeah, I think it may have been chartered by someone. They didn't let us know who that was, but because of that, the person count on the ship went from what would have been, I assume, somewhere around 2,400 to only about 1,000 people on board.
Huh. Oh, okay.
So we had less than half capacity. It was like probably about 40% of capacity, and they didn't spare the staff. I mean, there was clearly more than enough staff to cover us. So that was just amazing.
That's pretty cool. So
before you get going, Scott sent us some pictures too. So I want to bring up the PowerPoint that he did and just tell me when to like move on to the next page.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because I don't want to like start talking about stuff and then not have it ready.
Yeah, because if you wind Matt and myself up, we'll be talking for hours. So.
I know. Okay, now, oh shoot, where'd it go? Weird things are happening.
Hey, there's one.
Now I have no access to see anything. So if somebody says something awesome about me, you have to tell me.
I will. Oh, wow. Lots of people saying awesome things.
Oh my gosh. Sorry,
they're saying Matt is so lucky to have such a wonderful, beautiful, intelligent girlfriend.
Exactly.
Aww.
Got to get points back.
You're so full of it.
All right. So you get over to Greece and you start your adventure. I don't know too.
Let's advance one slide, and that way you kind of see what the itinerary looked like.
Oh, you even did transitions.
I did transitions.
You know, it was funny. I'm sorry, this is totally sort of off topic, but you asked if we wanted pictures, and I was like, sure. And then Matt looked at me and was like, how's he going to get us pictures? And I was like, well, he could also throw together a PowerPoint. That's like his thing.
It's true.
I enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
something that I let my students do. So it's like, hey, why not?
It's good.
So day number 1 is kind of a throwaway day for us because we, as you see, we had like no time. It was like, okay, go from the airport, jumped on that, got through it. We actually met a friend of ours, by the way, from a previous cruise that said, hey, I want to cruise with you guys. Let's do this. And so they met us at the airport. We got through customs really quick. We jumped in a taxi, got over there. It was about a 45-minute drive to Piraeus, and that was about, I want to say it was about €60. So
Okay.
not terrible, but it was one of those things where it's like, just be prepared if you're going from Athens to the port. It's not close. Like Rome, it's the same kind of situation where you're about an hour away. And so we jumped on the cruise ship, had a great time. And for anybody who knows me, they know I'm a gambler. So I immediately scoped out the casino. Great opportunity. And every single night we were there. In fact, a couple of the nights we actually closed out the casino. So we wanted to get rated, It's a great way to get cruises in the future, just so people know.
Right.
So
okay, before you go any further, I'm just noticing something that I know when we had Kimbra's mom on, and they went on that cruise in the Med, it was the same kind of thing. There's no sea days, I guess, typically in these European cruises, like to the Mediterranean area. Every day you're at a stop. Is that?
Yeah, man, it's exhausting. It really is. It's like a full-time job. So
right?
I will say this: if you like a lot of itineraries that are jam-packed, the Caribbean and sometimes Europe, you get a lot of really good itineraries that are jam-packed, which is fantastic if you like that. When I was in the Caribbean in March, we had to tap out on day number 4, even though it was like a 7-day cruise, because we didn't want to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning on our vacation. But it was like, at least we saw a lot of what we did. And so this was kind of the same way, but the difference here is on day number 4, where it says, I'm sorry, not day number 4, day number 5, where it says Argustoli. We actually were in Argustoli previously. So that was kind of our day to kind of just chill a little bit. And, rather than do a tour, we just said, hey, you know what, let's just go out, look for some souvenirs, which I actually have some show and tell stuff for you if you want to see that too in just a couple of minutes. But yeah, it was a great itinerary. I was super impressed. So again, we're going from Athens to Kusadasi, Turkey, then to the island of Rhodes. Then on day number 4, we actually have 2 different stops. We have Mykonos and Patmos. Day number, I'm sorry, that was day number 4. Yeah, day number 5, Argustoli. Day number 6, Corfu. Day number 7, Santorini, which is spectacular. Day number 8 is Bodrum, Turkey. And day number 9 is Herculaneum, which is in Crete, which is Greece, and then back over to Athens early.
You're really all over the place, though, because you get on the ship in Greece, then you go to Turkey, then you're like Greece, and then you're back in Turkey, and then you're back in Greece.
Yeah, it looks kind of like a Plinko map if you ever play that game. You're just like dropping. Bing, 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 bing. So yeah, it was crazy, but it's just however they wanted to arrange it. Now, before we left, one other thing came to mind, and this was something I did not plan actually before the cruise. If you look at this, you see like Rhodes, Greece, which is like where the Colossus of Rhodes was. That's one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's really like, to go to a site like that would be really amazing. What I did not know is that 2 of these other sites actually have the sites of also 2 of the other 7 wonders of the world. Oh. Which are so there's Rhodes, then there was the Temple of Artemis, which is in Kusadasi, or the site of the Temple of Artemis, and then the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, which is in Bodrum, Turkey, which is in day 8. So just being able to be like in 3 locations where there was 7 of the ancient wonders of the world is mind blowing. It's from an archaeologist's perspective. It's like a traveler's dream come true. So you ready to jump into some of these sites?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's jump to the next slide then.
I'm really good at pushing the next button.
So the next one we went to, so day number 2, we start in Kushidasi, and what you're seeing on the pictures here are three pictures. I want to start with the one that's at the very bottom, which looks like a little hut. That's actually the site, the supposed site of where the Virgin, the Virgin Mary lived after she left upon Jesus's death, and where she passed away. Her and John the Baptist made their way to Ephesus, which is where this is located at. And this is where the house of the Virgin Mary is located at. So I find that when I travel a lot, I end up going to a lot of religious places just coincidentally. It's just, this is one of those.
That's a lot of history is based around religious stuff too. Like, especially, think of like all the money that was put into architecture and art in the Renaissance and other, a lot of that was funded back then by the church. So there's a lot of religious history that's there.
Exactly.
Pretty impressive stuff. Cool.
Right above it, you're seeing a model of what was at one time the Temple of Artemis. And so it was massive. What you're looking at right next to it is one of what would have been the pillars to this, which was about 5 stories high. Wow. And so from an ancient perspective, this is the only thing still standing of that. And actually, if you look at it, it's kind of truncated, but with a bunch of different pillar parts. Yeah. They try to reform it to, be what it is now. So this is actually the site of the Temple of Artemis. And then, after going to after going to the house of the Virgin Mary, after going to the ruins of Ephesus, after going to the Ephesus Museum, we still had one other thing on our itinerary, which was to go to do a rug manufacturer location where they actually demonstrated how they pull apart, silk from silkworms, how they weave it together, how they put together stuff. They gave us hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. They were expecting us to purchase a rug, which I'm like, heck no, we have a cat. That's not going to happen. And so they tried to sell us a rug, which is great. And I appreciate it, but it's like, what, moving on.
Yeah.
I think it's a Turkish light there. That was really delightful.
Yeah. That's every time I think of that, I think of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So
there you go.
The Artemis Temple looks like, oh my gosh,
the Parthenon.
Yes, the Parthenon.
Yeah.
Very would you say they're pretty similar?
I would say a lot of the Greek temples are pretty much modeled after the same thing, but I would say the Parthenon and the Temple of Artemis were the largest of them.
Okay. Because the Parthenon has the statue of, is it Athena?
I think it's Athena. Yeah,
I feel like it's Athena in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
If I had more time, I would have seen it, but I didn't, unfortunately.
Yeah, no worries.
There's also one of the 7 wonders of the world is located in Olympia, Greece, which is the site of the statue of Zeus. And while that's no longer there, the site is still there, and so you can see similar architecture at that point as well. So
okay. Cool.
So lots of fun stuff, really cool, and a lot of great stuff. Got back, had a wonderful meal. Here's the thing. We had the drink plan, and while my partner took great advantage of that, I actually did not. I was kind of surprised because, again, when we were there, the temperature outside was more like Florida, and it was about 85 degrees out with about 85% to 90% humidity.
Whew. Okay.
And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm more into water right now. I love my alcohol, but man, I just could not stop drinking water. And so that was my go-to drink there. Spent the night in the casino, trying to get my odds up, and that's a regular routine. I'm not really a show person. I don't like yourself. I don't necessarily thrive to go to the shows that much, but if I can get a free cruise by doing a lot of gambling, why not?
There you go.
All right. You want to advance to the next slide really quick?
It's also making my brain go nuts because we just looked at ancient Greek structures in Turkey, and I have to remember that the country names and borders that we have now aren't necessarily the same as they were. And how old was that Artemis Temple? Was that like something BCE or
1600 BC?
Wow.
Yeah.
1600 BC. Like I see something here from like the 1700s and I'm like, whoa, this is really old.
It helps me.
Crazy.
It helps me to
Crazy.
relive my like Raiders of the Lost Ark fantasy of wanting to be close to like these really ancient architectural sites. Some of them are so growing up in California, like some of our oldest buildings here are probably maybe 100 years old or a little over that. Then I lived on the East Coast, as I made mention, over in Jersey City. And now we had a couple of buildings there that were a couple of 100 years old that are getting towards the Revolutionary War times.
Right.
And then I started going to Europe. And when I was going to Europe, all of a sudden I'm seeing like places where the marble steps are warped because people have been walking on those for centuries or millennia in some cases. It's spectacular when you actually get a chance to breathe in that site or touch it, to actually touch it without being inside of a museum. And you're like, oh, I can actually touch this. And you're like, yes, you can. So it's like, it's amazing.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So our next day we spent on the island of Rhodes. This was not my favorite excursion just because of the way that the tour guide did it. I want to start by taking a look at the harbor picture that I have on here. When you see a picture of the Colossus of Rhodes, typically the picture is of the Colossus straddling the harbor. So they're usually they're like legs spread, and the whole idea was the ships would sail under it in order to get into the harbor. Which is, by the way, if you ever see the show Game of Thrones, Bravos, the free city of Bravos, is kind of modeled after the Colossus of Rhodes.
It makes sense. Okay.
And so scientists have determined that that's not the way it would have been. Otherwise, the thing was supposed to be the size of the Statue of Liberty, approximately. And so it just would not have been able to stand. So we went to this medieval fort that was located there, where a lot of stuff is going on. And it was okay. It was classic, but it wasn't until we were inside this fort that was there that the lady told us, okay, so based on the information that we have from the Colossus of Rhodes, we know that the Colossus was actually located more on the hillside, which is where this fort is. And more specifically, this would have been the ideal spot for it until it fell from the earthquake that happened about 60 years after it was created. And so where we were at was like, okay, surprise, this is where the Colossus of Rhodes probably actually was. And I was like, oh, well, thanks. I guess I would have liked to have been more prepared so I could, I would have liked it if, rather than focusing on medieval history for this specific excursion, we would have focused on ancient history, like BCE history. And that would have made me a little bit more driven towards this. So this was not my favorite location, although I did appreciate the fact that they had a robust history. The city of Rhodes there is jam-packed with lots of stuff to do. Lots of stuff to buy, and not once during this entire trip did I have Greek food, which made me very sad.
That is kind of sad.
Sad.
We may be getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but did they have a lot of quote unquote Greek food on the ship?
They only had one night when they had a Greek night. I know. Yeah, that shook my head too. But you know what? It was fine. We had a really good. We had a good spot in the main dining hall. My partner is vegan, and so we had it to where on this ship they had like a dietitian who every time we would sit down, they somehow knew exactly where we were at on the ship, whether it was there or in La Bistro or wherever, and they would come to us and say, hey, how are you and Kevin doing? I just want to plan for tomorrow's meal for you ahead of time. So here's what the menu looks like for tomorrow. What would you like? And so that gave us a little bit of they actually sought us out to do that. So I was like, oh, this is really kind of cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I will say, I think it's a little bit easier on Royal Caribbean, just because they actually, in their main dining hall, they actually have a gluten-free menu. They have a vegan menu automatically. So you don't even have to ask those questions.
It doesn't have to be like an accommodation. It's just like, here.
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
Although my husband has now turned into what they call a flexitarian, which is more like hey, I'll eat meat if I have to. I don't want to, but I'm like, okay. you will if there's nothing around. So yeah, so that was our day in Rhodes. Again, went back, had a great meal, and then of course gamble to try and get my points up. So now we can advance to the next slide if you'd like, which is probably my favorite location. So what you're not looking at here is the island of Mykonos, but I'll explain why in just a second. This is This is a small island off of Mykonos called Delos. We had to take a little ferry from the port of Mykonos to get to Delos. Delos is supposedly, under Greek tradition, the birth site of Apollo and Athena.
Oh.
Is it Athena or Artemis? I think it's Athena. And so, whatever, the twins. And so, this was actually at one point a trading location. And this is where, like, as you're coming up to the beach, which is the first picture that you're seeing here on the top, you're actually seeing the pillars jutting out from, this is an amazing location. You're literally being able to walk onto an archaeological island site where the only people who are even allowed on here are archaeologists and cats. And so I'll explain the cats piece in just a second, but
are some of the cats archaeologists? That's the
no, but they are there for a very good reason, and that is to help
to dig.
Yeah, they do. And the tour guides come with kibble and make sure that the cats are taken care of, and they come with like little bottled water. So there's all these little cups that are out there. But they actually serve a very important purpose on the island of Delos, and that is to keep us tourists away from some potential danger that is on the island, which are vipers.
Oh, okay.
So when we were on the island, we were told, "Hey, don't lean on the walls if you can avoid it." And we were like, "Oh, why is that?" She's like, "Oh, there might be snakes or something like that." And we're like, "Ah, that's so funny." She's like, "No, actually, that's real." And so we went to the amphitheater, which was located in the main area of the district where the merchants were located at. And one of the tourists that were there spotted what is, I guess, would be our cruise creature for today, which is the horned horn-nosed viper.
I've seen it written both ways: nose horned and horn nosed.
Yeah,
and they have a couple other common names, but yeah.
But they made us keep our distance from it, so I didn't even get a picture of it because there was a crowd around it, and it's like, no, don't, just leave it alone, let it do its thing. But what you're seeing on here are just some amazing architecture, and again, you have the freedom to walk all through the island. You get a chance to touch the stuff. At the very, very end here, that area, which looks like a foundation in the ground, that's a bunch of old stuff. That's actually a cistern to collect water for the entire district. And then the one that's on the bottom is the like an entranceway to the main bazaar, where they would have people come onto the island, sell their goods, and then they offload off the island at the end of the week or something like that, whenever they were ready to do so.
Cool. So Mykonos is an island that, I know this isn't Mykonos, but it's an island that I recognize that name. Did you spend all of your time on this smaller island, or were you on both?
We did. I think we may mention of this a couple weeks ago, but for some people who travel with some challenges, like myself, I have like stomach issues. I usually go on smaller excursions, and this was just one of those that was like a 4-hour excursion. It was really, really brief. And then once we were done, we got back over to the port, and at the port, actually, there's a ton of things to do. Great restaurants that were lining all the way around there. It was jam-packed, tourist stuff everywhere. And then we just took the tender to get back onto the ship, and that was pretty much about it. Just have our lunch, and that was great.
So this is really cool. I'm trying to figure out, if I went to this island, what would draw my attention more. Would it be the snakes or the ancient Greek ruins? That would be a tough pull for me in this situation.
There's also other things there. There's a great nightlife. Friends of mine recently went there on a different cruise, and they saw a series of windmills. So they were able to do like a windmill tour that was there. Okay. Just kind of take a look at the architecture. There's like food and beverage and all kinds of stuff that you can play around with there. So, and there are beaches with people that are scantily clad, and there are people on the beach with nothing. So if you're okay with that, then then Mykonos is the place for you. So yeah, that was great. And then later on that same day, we went to another small island very close to there called Patmos. And Patmos was just, again, a small island, small district. At the very, very, very top of the hillside in Patmos, they had a like a castle almost, where the Knights of St. John the Baptist, actually, they were there, people who dedicated their lives to the teachings of John the Baptist, and they would police the island and make sure to make it a safe place for Christians. So that was a really interesting thing. I thought was interesting. So that was our day in Mykonos.
Cool.
If we want to jump, we can jump to the next slide. So this is Argustoli. Now, Argustoli, we had been there previously, and I will say the first time I was there, we were a little rushed, but it was a really great island. They had a monastery there that I went to that also houses a library, which was fantastic. And they also have an underground lake that they will have. They actually have like these gondolas in the lake, and the people will like pilot you through this lake, and it's really quite beautiful. We wanted to avoid that this time because the last time it was over a 2-hour wait in the sun. And so I was like, yeah, not for me. And since we had already been there before, I just decided to see if there was any shopping. And sure enough, there's a very vibrant shopping area right over there. In fact, I got a couple of things I wanted to show really quick. This, if you can see, is a plaster mask of the Greek god Dionysus.
God bring out the wine.
Yep, exactly. And then we got a couple of urns because we earned them. See if you can see any of these. This one right here, and this one right here. They're obviously reproductions, but we do what we like every time we go to on a trip like this. We want to bring home a couple of interesting artifacts, we call them. Things that aren't like just your postcards or your magnets or your shot glasses or stuff like that. Right. Something that we can actually put up and have a nice little story about. And so we picked a few things up there. This was mostly a shopping day for us, and that was kind of fun.
That's cool. When I took art history in college, I only did the first part of it technically, but we started with like ancient art, like all the way back to cave paintings, and then we went up to the Renaissance. That's where the semester ended. But I had never really learned about all the ancient Greek art and stuff like that, and it was like so fascinating to me. It was like really cool, and I remember all the amphoras, and there's like the different. I've forgotten all of it now, but like the different styles of. But all that stuff was super fascinating to me.
One thing that I would say would be a really tough decision for you, and this goes back to Mykonos as well, is the waters are so crystal. They are gorgeous. They are beautiful. And scuba in that area, I think you'd probably get some of the best opportunities to just enjoy yourself there. So yeah, you're gonna have a problem when you go to this place.
I was actually going to ask you that if there's like, because you said the temperatures were like Florida, if there were like wildlife things. So I know people dive over there, so that would be a real challenge for me. I'd have to do the cruise twice.
just give it a shot.
At least twice.
Maybe more. You have to give it a shot every which way. Okay, so let's jump from Argustoli to Corfu. Now, Corfu is a little bit of a mix because you have stuff that's ancient there. You have stuff that's a little bit more modern. You have a nice shopping area. So at the top, you're looking at the remains of a medieval monastery. Right below that, you have that is originally I thought it was an anchor to an old ship, and that is not what that is. That round thing right there is a wheel that is used on an olive press.
Oh,
so to make olive oil. That is exactly correct. Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
So, and then
it reminds me of the things that they use to make tequila.
Yeah.
The big stone grinding wheels.
Exactly. Pretty much universal. It's just, back in the day, they may have used human labor as opposed to donkeys or even modern labor, like what they use with machines these days. Now, over to the far right, that building that you see on the far right of the screen, that is the Monropos Palace, which is the actual birthplace of Prince Philip,
Oh,
Queen Elizabeth's consort. So he was born in Greece, and this is where his family was in and around. And so prior to marrying Queen Elizabeth, this is one of the areas that he and his siblings would be in.
interesting.
So that was that. And then in the center, obviously there was a very, very robust shopping center. The heart of the city, there's just so much stuff to do there. I'd say this island, more than anything, specialized in woodworking, woodworking and leather goods.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different stuff like that, which of course, leather goods for my husband who's a vegan is just, that's not their jam. So it is what it is, and that's fine. I had an enjoyable time here. Got some good pictures. Those will go on video soon. So this is just kind of a sneak preview of that whole process.
Cool.
Is this where my mom said was her favorite?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
It seems like I could see your mom enjoying, like, the other thing that really strikes me is looking at this center photograph. So if you're listening in the future, then you'll have to go check these photographs out. But that sort of classic old European, before cars, skinny streets, it's just really cool. It's just really, I would imagine that would sort of transport you back in time almost.
Oh yeah, it's so fun to kind of look at how Europeans live, and it's just it boggles my mind because they're able to go through and just do purchase, like they can go through, and this was something we experienced when we went to Venice a few years ago. For a person that actually lives in Venice proper, they just go down to the fish market in Venice and pick up fish. They just go over to a place to pick up wine. They go through and maybe have a seat at the cafe while they're bringing back their groceries to their house. It's like nowadays we're so used to supermarkets that we don't understand that there's these places that specialize in butchery and veg, like a veggie, like farmer's market, and all these different things that are in these old European style locations where you can purchase fresh things right off the cart, or just it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely fun.
And I'm sure that we have lost a lot in the name of convenience because of that. Like I'm sure that the quality and the relationships and stuff are probably so much richer when you have this sort of microcosm of all these different things rather than going to the local Walmart and getting all that stuff. It's got to be a really, I don't know, rewarding experience.
It's great. It's great to see how a lot of people in Europe live. And here's another thing too. As part of all of these different things that I did, I was walking a minimum of 10,000 steps per day. So healthy wise, it's definitely keeping up with the Europeans. I'm a relatively larger dude. So I should say more portly dude rather than larger, because I'm not that tall. But just being able to walk around, it's very obvious why many of the Europeans that I see are slender in build, because they do a lot of walking. When we visit Amsterdam, everybody's on bicycles. It's crazy. So yeah, there's a certain European mindset that goes along with being able to live that lifestyle.
It's cool. It's very cool.
All right, let's go from Corfu now to one of my favorite islands, which is Santorini.
Oh, that's beautiful. Right now, just looking at that picture of all those buildings is just amazing.
I could not throw enough pictures on this. It was so cool. So Santorini, for those who don't know, is actually the caldera of a volcano.
Oh.
You are literally, when you're entering the area, there is almost up until a few years ago, there wasn't even a port. It was just it was cliff face everywhere that you looked. And so what they did, by the way, for a person who's afraid of heights, this is not the best example. So what they ended up doing is they built a port down at the bottom of one of the cliff faces. And they have a singular road that goes up like a zigzag all the way up the side of the cliff to the top, which is where the people live. And so as you're going through this, if you're afraid of heights, you're like, don't look down, don't look down, don't look down. And then there's these buses that are trying to pass each other on a 1-lane road.
Oh God.
Up the side of a mountain, where if a bus gets stuck, the entire island stops. So it's crazy. So anyways, they start you there, and on this particular excursion was amazing. We decided to visit one of the prehistoric cities there of Akriteri. Akriteri is supposedly where a lot of the ideas for Atlantis may have come from.
Oh, okay.
So what you're seeing here in the upper right 3 pictures, the one that goes to the upper right and then the 2 below it, that is an enclosed area, which is the city of Akriteri. And so it's just spectacular. They're still in the process of excavating the items from the city, but it's amazing. And I have an example here of something I purchased from one of the souvenir shops there. This is a replica of one of the, I'm not sure if you can see it okay. Can you see that?
It's blurring it out a little bit. You can kind of make it out. Is it like a tile?
It's a tile from one of the mosaics that they were actually able to unearth. The souvenir shop takes donations in exchange for pieces of like replicated pieces of art that you can get there, and that helps with some of the excavation. Unfortunately, they had an excavation sponsor that was from Russia, and unfortunately, with everything that's being isolated in Russia right now, everything's come to a dramatic halt.
Gotcha.
So they also do a lot of wine production on the island, but not in the way that I would have expected. Here in California, we have a huge wine industry, and that's being done through a variety of vineyards where they have these vines that are up on these trestles and things like that they continuously water all the time. Their grapes are literally on the ground in this little, like during the daytime, they'll put like a basket over it to protect it from the sun. And then they take that off at sunset. And then the dew in the morning is really the only water that those grapes receive.
Huh. I
don't know if I can show you any alcohol or bottles of wine or anything like that. I don't want to get this banned or anything. I don't know if you could show alcohol on your.
I think
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we
so
drink it on here,
so I came back with about 6 bottles of wine from various different things, whether they were whites or dessert wines or ice wines or whatever the case may be. We visited the vineyard there, which is where you're seeing the bottom picture on the left-hand side, which was, hey, we visited a local vineyard. We had an opportunity to taste the wine. We got a beautiful view of the volcano that remains, which is on the the lower right-hand side. That little hillside that's there is what remains of the volcano from, I want to say it was in 480 that the entire island of Santorini exploded. And that actually sent most of the island apart. And so the remains of the caldera is filled. So when you're driving your cruise ship in, you're literally driving into a volcano.
It's not active anymore, or is it still?
It's considered active, but it's not. Like they'll occasionally have like steam vents that come out, but nothing really craziness. They monitor it. They do monitor it. And so how do I get back to the ship? So we're not going to do that little zigzaggy thing, because they actually moved the ship from there to the other portion of the island where there's a secondary port. And what you're seeing in the bigger picture here is me going down in a cable car from the monastery at the top of the shopping area in Santorini down to the bottom, which is the port where the cruise ships are. And that was it was spectacular. It was just amazing. I just couldn't look out the window, but my camera did. And so they build on the side of the cliff. I don't know if I would live on the side of a cliff, but especially not off of a volcano, but hey, it's really pretty, So that was really kind of cool. Then we move on to the second to the last slide, which is day 8. This is the city of Bodrum, Turkey. And this is, if you look in the upper left-hand corner of this, you're going to see what appears to be a castle or a fort on the beach. That's the castle of St. Peter, dedicated to St. Peter during the Middle Ages. That is constructed from the remnants of the mausoleum from Halicarnassus. So you'll see different bricks and things like that that are involved in the building, and some of them are much more modern looking than some of the other ones, and the ones that are older are the actual bricks from the mausoleum. This comes from the emperor that was there at the time, Mosul, hence the term mausoleum, and that's where that comes from. We went to go see. They still house a lot of the artifacts inside of the castle of St. Peter. So you'll see like these different urns, pots. Over on the upper right-hand corner, that was a wooden sarcophagus that still is intact. And then next to it is the wife of the emperor of Mosul, or more specifically, a wax efficacy or approximation of what she looked like. They were able to find her body, and again, it was a really interesting experience. I liked it. I was happy I went. It was my third of the 7 wonders of the world. I can tick that off now, and so now I just have to get to Egypt within the next year or two, and take on 2 more. And then, if you want to jump over to the last, and I think one of the more beautiful, this is Crete, and we had an opportunity to go to Knossos and the city of Herculaneum. And so this was where we had an opportunity to walk through Knossos, which is supposed to be one of the largest and one of the earliest civilizations cities in the area. It had been destroyed and built a few times, so this is more like one of the more recent excavations. But as you can see, the colors are still present on a lot of these.
I remember that from my art history class. Is this where the whole Minotaur labyrinth?
That is exactly. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. That is the legend of the Minotaur was supposed to be here because the palace was so massive. That's where they think they got the idea of the maze from this. And so it was really great in terms of seeing this. Again, not the best tour. So I got my pictures, and then my husband and I just sat at a gift shop and just had a Greek coffee and strawberry and orange juice. And it was just a great, beautiful day, had a lot of fun. And then it was back to the ship, and the disaster of trying to come home, missing my flights, and getting what you, I think, referred to earlier as that which will not be named. So I'm still kind of suffering from that. I apologize to my students and my people that I speak with. Still, I'm living off a steady diet of Ricola and Robitussin in the meantime to try and keep the cough down. But it is going away. So
Good.
So apart from that, if you want to just jump,
let me ask you this real quick, Scott. I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but my understanding is that color that we see in this island, it was preserved here, but a lot of the ancient ruins that we think of as being just white stone, marble, that sort of thing, or in Egypt, the yellowish stone, a lot of those probably had lots of colors when they were back in their day. Is that, am I right on that? Do you know?
You are absolutely correct. Yeah.
Okay.
They were originally painted with a variety of different materials that were available at the time, whether that was natural inks, whether that was gemstones, or powdered gemstones, whether they were shells, things like that, so they can find the appropriate colors in order to paint them. But over the thousands of years, these artifacts, these statues, have lost a lot of their color. But in some cases, you can still see some of these colors that pop, especially from excavated sites. Yeah. So when you're I'll give you a perfect example of this. A couple of years ago, we were in Venice, and our tour guide led us into a department store for Benetton. And like, why are we going into a department store? This is wacky. And so we go down into the basement, and of course they're selling shirts around the outside, but in the center, there was an excavation with these like plastic walls around it, and an archaeologist who's in the center, and they have tiles that are, you can see as clear as day, the tile and the color that are being excavated. It's just mind blowing.
It's awesome.
Hmm.
All the movies get it wrong. Like they don't give you, if it's a movie take like a period piece, they don't ever add those colors in. Like I want to see it as it was.
Yeah, I totally understand. And so for me, being able to kind of take that in and really enjoy it, I think was just such an amazing opportunity for us.
That's awesome.
Just some quick takeaways on this type of a trip. I would say number one, I think the pros of going on a trip like this is that you're able to see history as you want to see it. You get a chance to see it either from a distance or up close, which is really quite spectacular. If you want to put forth the effort to taste the food, drink the alcohol, meet the people, everybody there, like there was nobody I spoke to who didn't speak English. Like English is a second language for a lot of the people in Greece because it's a big tourist community for a lot of these islands. And so they want to be able to have some level of French and some level of English, which are two of the most common languages that are spoken in the European area. And so just to have that is really great. Some things I would be aware of. Number one, if you're going to go on a trip like this, bring a healthy supply of cash, specifically euros. We actually ordered some euros ahead of time from my bank. So that made it a little bit easier to do tipping on the, with tour guides and things like that. Even in Turkey, even though their currency is the lira, they still took euros. They were totally fine with that.
Kind of like the dollar in Caribbean, you can use the American dollar pretty much everywhere, but in Europe, that's not the case. But the euro will work. Even it's kind of like that over there. Then,
yeah, absolutely. And another thing I would say, as far as a value add, and Kimbra can speak to this probably. Use a travel agent in order to be able to book your stuff. It doesn't cost any more, and it's really a great opportunity to be able to not only save money, but maybe also get some perks. And they can offer you a lot of expertise on stuff. And if they don't have the answer at the top of their hand, they could do a research for you and be able to find stuff for you.
Absolutely. That's pretty awesome. And then what do you have? Value adds, cost savings, and best practices.
I would say definitely in terms of cost savings, it seems like there's trends that are going around now. Like I'm noticing a lot of my friends right now are traveling to Greece. In fact, I want to say one of your listeners, one of your viewers, Kevin, he, I believe, is either on a Greek cruise right now or had just gotten back from a Greek cruise.
He might be, because he's usually in the chat and he's not tonight. So I think Kevin might be he might be there right now.
And I think Dan's friends just came back from one.
Oh, his producers?
His producers just came back, yeah.
And I have a couple other friends that were also on a cruise that touched Greece or went to a couple of Greece stops. And so I don't know if the trend is that when a lot of these locations are really pushing a specific travel location, they mark the prices down a lot. And so like one of the trends I'm starting to see right now is, and no offense to Sean, but Australia. Like we booked for next December to visit Sydney and a couple of different islands off the coast there in New Caledonia. And so we're really excited about that. But I would say, yeah, if there's, look for trends, look for locations, look for, maybe locations where the prices are discounted, maybe under $1,000 to start with, because it makes it a lot easier when you're wanting to travel internationally.
Did you just say New Caledonia?
New Caledonia. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they have nude people in Caledonia.
No. My gargoyle gecko is from New Caledonia.
That's right. The what is his name?
Jasper.
Jasper, yes.
Yep.
I remember seeing the pictures. You were flashing the pictures up the last couple of weeks, so I was like, yes,
yep.
He's so cute.
And he's still terrified of me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or she or they.
I
don't know what it is yet.
But I mean, yeah, we'll be going to 3 of the islands in New Caledonia at that time. So unless they change the itinerary and throw a couple more days on us.
Right.
So like,
And
we want to go to New Zealand. Okay, no problem.
Swing over to Tasmania, come back around.
If you have to. I'll try.
That is awesome. Scott, this is cool. After talking to Kimbra's mom and then talking to you, it's like people always try and get me to go to Alaska, and someday I will do that. But they also talk about the Mediterranean cruises, and I'm always kind of like, I think that appeals to me, but like hearing your explanation and seeing these pictures and stuff, I definitely know that is something I'd be interested in, because I love, just like we talked about, just being able to go back and be in some place that was created 2,000 years ago. It's just mind blowing. And to see this beautiful art and artwork, it just, it's awe inspiring, basically. It's really cool.
It's going to be one of those things, I think, that we have coming up in March with the group cruise, the Fintastic group cruise, where if you can stand me for any length of time, maybe we can invite you to go with us to some of those trips that we go through all throughout the years. And it might be a great opportunity for the two of you to experience some of these things. I can already tell you, we're starting to look into 2024 at this point, and we're starting to kind of get our feelers at what we would like to do. Because I have a lot of like credits with Norwegian, and I have a lot of casino cred with a lot of other stuff. I haven't done MSC yet, though, but based on what you guys did last week, it seems pretty promising.
Yeah. And that would be a cool way to do it too, because, going to another country so far away and all, there's some nerves there. I think a cruise makes it a little bit more comfortable, but then going with somebody who has that experience kind of takes a lot of that stress away, with everything. So that would be cool. Well, let me get to the cruise creature real quick, because you have a really cool cruise creature that you saw, which you mentioned before, but you're going to play we got to play the intro. And I know you sent me a text, I think while you were still over there, and you were like excited about seeing this snake over there, which I think is really cool. I don't know if most people think of Europe as a place for snakes, but there definitely are snakes in Europe. And this one that you saw is one of the most toxic snakes in Europe, which, compared to what they've got in Australia and some other parts of the world, isn't all that bad, but it's still a medically significant species that, if you do not get medical attention, can be a really ending sort of experience. But this is called the nose. I don't know. We called it a couple things.
Nose.
What did they call it over there? Did they call it a nose horned or horn?
They call it a horn nose viper.
Okay. Because I've seen it both ways, and it's weird because their scientific name actually means like sand diver. But that's ironic because they don't live in the sand. They live in like rocky substrate, just like you described on that island. That's like their perfect habitat. You want to bring up that, or I can do it. Bring up the picture of them here. You got it up there. The thing about these European vipers, I had a buddy that was really into European vipers, and throughout Russia, as well as like Greece and Turkey and all those areas, they're all very, I think, similar looking. In a sense, they don't all have the little horn nose like this one does here, but they have a very similar body build, which is typical because they're all in the family Viperidae. But also,
you mean no legs?
But I mean a little bit more than just no legs. But they all have a similar pattern as well, like that sort of zigzag pattern. And there's different colors, and some have more like black lines around it and stuff. But like you can look at if you're a herp person and you look at a snake from this area, venomous snake from this area, there's a good chance you're going to know, oh, that's some kind of European viper, isn't it? Because they're just so distinct. I guess they all kind of evolved close enough that they're distant, but they're not that distant. But what I think is cool about this snake is that I guess they can get up to about 3 feet tall. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Scott. I didn't know anything about this species when you told me, so I had to do all the research, and there's not a ton of information about it. But
can I pull the picture down?
You can pull the picture down. But they get about 3 feet as a max. I think normally they're a little bit under that, and they are, like I said, they are medically significantly toxic, probably similar to like a copperhead in the United States. So people don't typically die when they're bitten by them, but you're going to the hospital if you get bitten by one of these, because their venom is actually got some hemotoxic properties as well as neurotoxic properties. So hemotoxic is going to make your tissue swell and rot, and neurotoxic is going to cause problems to your nervous system, which is what like cobras and those kind of snakes do. So it's an interesting little soup of venom that this animal has. They are also an ovoviviparous snake, and what that means is that they appear to be a live-bearing snake, but that's really not the case. So snakes come in three varieties, mostly two, but occasionally there's a third. One is viviparous, which is a true live bearer, which is the rarest in snakes, but it's common in mammals and a lot of other species. And then there are oviparous, which are your egg layers, which is a lot of reptiles and a lot of snakes. And ovoviviparous means that they're not producing a placental offspring. They're in a sort of an egg structure, but it's not a shell, but it's all internal. And then they will either emerge from this special film and then they're born, or sometimes they'll come out in these little gelatinous balls and then they'll kind of puncture their way through that. But that's where this snake falls in. And there's a good reason for that. I mean, I know you said that the weather was like Florida, but does it get pretty chilly there at other times of the year, or is that the constant?
It can. Usually they were making mention that towards November, December, and January timeframe, it gets to the point where they actually, move away from a lot of these islands in order to go to the mainland. So they'll have like this is kind of almost like their summer home that they have at a lot of these islands. But specifically on that island that we were on, Delos, it's uninhabited except for the archaeologists and the cats that live there. So, I mean, it seems like a perfect breeding ground for something that wants to just live among the rocks and not really deal with a lot of interruptions.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're a snake and you live in an area like that, like it may be too rocky. It may not be a good place to bury eggs, or if it gets too cold, then they may not be able to incubate and survive. So you'll get these other variations, but I think they're beautiful snakes. One of the things that's interesting about this particular species is they are sexually dimorphic. So you can literally look at this species of snake and you can tell like a male from a female based on their pattern and there's a marking on their head. So most snakes are not like that. Most snakes, there might be a little bit of a size difference, but you don't really know unless you're looking inside the animal, which reproductive organs it has. But in this species, they are different. They're similar in size, but they're different. So that picture that you saw, I believe, bring it up again because I don't know for sure. I would guess this is probably either a young female or a male, just because that pattern is very contrasty and bold, where the females, it'll be more faded, but the males get like a diamond shape on their head. But you don't see that too often in reptiles, that huge amount of difference. So it's kind of interesting to see in this particular species, but just gorgeous snakes. And I love the little horn on it. Like my favorite, or one of my favorite snakes, is a snake that's from Asia called Deinochistrodon acutus, which I know that's a lot, but they kind of look similar to a copperhead or something, but they have this little pointy thing on the tip of their nose. And that's one of the reasons why I love that snake. And this snake has a similar sort of little appendage thing going on. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I really liked, from what I could see of the pictures, the zigzag pattern, which is very common amongst this specific genus and species, I believe, of this snake. I didn't get a chance to see the front of the face, but we just so happened to have someone on the tour with us who had a minor in zoology, and so she was able to say, "Oh, well, this is exactly what it is." She's like, "Please stay away from it." But like you were saying earlier, even though it has hemotoxin and neurotoxin, if you do get access to antivenom, it's probably not going to result in a death. But there are some risk factors that you need to be aware of in terms of, you need the antivenom, or you'll need to go to the hospital. You'll need to be able to, because the problem could be with like necrosis of certain tissue. Obviously the hemotoxin would make it so that you would not be able to coagulate your blood.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a problem. And then of course, internal bleeding potentially if there's a puncture. So again, there could be some things that jump up from that.
Yeah, you don't want to get bitten by any venomous snake, but yeah, so it's not going to be a fun experience. So if you go to that island, watch where you're walking.
Just don't lean on the walls. Yeah,
Don't lean on the wall.
Don't lean on the walls because there could be something in one of those little cracks that like wants to come out and say hi to you, and you're like not prepared. So
I did read though. I believe I read on this species that they are not prone to biting. They will, and this is true with a lot of venomous snakes, but they will huff at you, hiss, puff up and everything, and give you lots and lots of warning typically. So just using general bits of caution, and you should be fine. And if you're lucky, you'll get to see one from a bit of a safe distance, and that'll be a really cool experience.
Absolutely.
Cool. Any closing thoughts, Kim?
We do have a question.
Oh.
For Scott? Do you want to do it now, or do you want to roll the credits and then answer the question?
Let's do the question now, and then we'll roll the credits, and then we'll see if there's more, because this one looks like an interesting question here. And I'll read the questions. Because Scott, when you were in Ephesus, am I saying that correctly?
Ephesus, yeah.
Ephesus.
Yeah.
Did you see or hear anything about the octagon?
So that is, I think, a fighting area that was originated back in Greece. I did not. I'm sorry about that, but we only had a very limited time in Ephesus. My focus was on the history and the museum, the Temple of Artemis, and I just wanted to give that a shot. But I would certainly say I would definitely recommend going back there, and that would be something you could certainly take a look into. In fact, I definitely want to go back to Greece in the relative future, because I still can go to Olympus and get one more notch on my hey, this is where the statue of Zeus used to be. So
that's awesome.
It'd be really fun. So sorry, Unkti, I didn't get an opportunity to explore that a little bit further, but it's a good question.
Cool. Okay. Well, listen, Scott, it was a pleasure as always having you on the podcast. It's always, I love having you on because not only is it entertaining and fun, but I always learn stuff, which is really one of my favorite things to do. So thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Always a pleasure. Thank you both. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and take it into the outro here.
Okay. Well, how does it go? It's time to head for the horizon.
Almost time to head for the horizon. We're getting close.
Yeah. And until next time, seize the day.
Have a fantastic week, everybody.
All right.
Hey,
and we're back.
Thank you for those of you who are sticking around after the credits. Let's just do our silence so you can edit it, and then we'll.
You want me to do it now? I've
got
a question for Scott.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
So you're planning to keep the hair for the March cruise?
I will keep the hair for the March cruise.
So I think you should dye it, and we can be twinsies.
What color? Well, let's discuss it after. Let's discuss it after what's coming up here, because I want to know exactly what you're doing. So
okay,
we'll chat about it.
All right.
But my husband definitely wants me to keep the curls. So
I like them. I think they work.
It's crazy outrageous. I've never had hair in my, because I always used to like brush my hair back. I am actually trying to let my hair grow out a little bit more, but it's just because it's so curly, it just isn't. It's not functionally growing down.
You did always wear it back. That's why I assumed that you had the same beautiful brain growth that I did. But you've got stuff up there.
I do.
You actually, the curls. It's very like Greek statue.
That was, you were thinking that's if I had a laurel wreath around my hair, that would be perfect.
There you go. So
very amazing.
Cool. Pause now.
Okay, we'll pause. Okay, she said that's enough time. Cool. Cool. Well, if anybody has any questions for Scott, this is a good time to ask those if you haven't already. Or if you missed it, post it again.
Or if you have any hair color suggestions. I mean, I already have ideas, but let me know what you think.
If you found Steve the second time that Steve was hidden.
What? You mean you moved Steve?
I moved Steve because I just didn't do a good enough job hiding him the first time.
I can tell you that where he's hiding is definitely no dice.
That's true. That's true. So we'll see if anybody else picked up on that.
Thanks, Sandy.
Meg, love your PowerPoint.
Aw,
my mom loves the curls. You didn't give me any curls, Mom.
That's okay. My mom didn't give me any height, so there we go. Now we're even.
Oh, Stacy says saw Steve right away both times.
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Fancy Pants.
He's good at that, though. Oh, Meg says we all saw him the first and second time. Did you rehead it again? No. He's only rehidden once. So he's one
two
spot.
Places this episode.
We should get like multiple of him and then hide him in different spots and then
I mean, we have like a whole collection of pops. We could just do different pops and see if they can figure out who or what
we could do that. Yeah, there's like a whole, you guys don't normally see this, but there's a whole wall of Harry Potter pops.
I mean, if they watched from like way back when,
yeah, that
used to be our background.
But even then you couldn't see all of them because it's like an army of
pops. This background.
If these pops came alive, we wouldn't stand a chance.
I mean, I have 16 wands. We've got something on them. They might all have wands, but so do we.
I guess I had curls when I was 2, according to my mom. Dan's given us some history, a little bit of history. The Temple of Artemis was where Arsinoe was exiled when Mark Antony took over Egypt. So maybe it was a horn-nosed viper that got Cleopatra. I don't know. It always says just asp in the
they say asp in the history books.
That's like an easy way out. I'm like, what kind of asp? Asp is
that's like generic for snake back in the day.
Right. It's pretty much that broad. So
actually, I thought viper was a specific type of snake, but I think it's just a generic term.
Viper, well, so it depends because you get into difficulties because viper can be a generic term. Viper is also a family. So within snakes, I should say, there's Viperidae, which is all of your pretty much old world vipers. And then in North America, mostly, there's a few exceptions to both these. We have Crotalidae, which are going to be your pit vipers, like rattlesnakes, cottonmouths, stuff like that. But the old world vipers they're similar, but they're different enough that they're in a different family. So, and then you've got Lapidae, and there's a whole bunch of other ones, but Colubridae, they're not mostly non-venomous or rear fang.
Like
Guinness. Yeah.
We just have to call it a day. We just have to call it a day.
Call it a day, exactly. If it's got AE on it, it's probably just a family. So all the families like giant squid families, Architeuthidea.
Yeah.
I have a question for you two. What are your yes? Stop. What are your upcoming cruises?
So we have our next cruise.
Our next cruise is on the horizon.
So it literally is
on the horizon.
On the horizon, yeah, in October.
Yeah, and that's like middle of October. That's the group cruise. It's technically Spikers, although I don't think they're going to be on it anymore. Us and More, and then Down Under Cruisers. So that's our next one, and then after that is the
March group cruise.
The March group cruise, and then that's all we have that we've admitted to.
Yes, there may be others that we haven't shared yet.
In the more distant future.
Yeah, but that's all we've got right now.
I'll have to share my upcoming itineraries with you. So if we can matchy at any point, that'd be
yes. But what I know you said you've got one coming up, but what?
So I have one in October, so that's for my 50th. Then in March, obviously the group cruise with everybody. Then in August for our anniversary, we're going to do the ABC Islands.
Oh, nice.
And then in December of
When
next
in
year,
August.
I would have to look that up.
It's fine.
I'll text you on that. But in December of next year we have the Australia one. In 2024, we're starting to look into March for a possible Japan and Seoul, Korea cruise that will include hopefully the changing of the cherry blossoms.
Oh, nice.
So that's something we're looking into. We really haven't delved into Asia that much, and we're the only place I've been there is Thailand. That was a flight.
Cool.
Right.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And here, let me just, in case anybody hasn't found Steve.
Oh, clever.
Yeah, he just moved from here to here.
Do you have any other Irwin's baubles or anything like that?
I don't. I think
They had one with a turtle as well,
Yeah.
but I got you this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only one that I could find available. The other one they didn't have at the time.
The turtle one was the like rare one, I think, which is cool. But I mean, obviously, I'm a croc guy, so I kind of this one seems like it'd be the special one, but the turtle one's cool too. They're both cool. I just like Steve Irwin. So.
Question: have either one of you looked into ever doing a Galapagos cruise?
Funny you should say that. Twice we have kind of looked at it in a way. Right before the world
opportunities.
Yeah, well, right before the world shut down, Pero DJ reached out to us and asked if we would be interested in doing a Galapagos with them.
I think that was after. I think they didn't go because it wasn't reopened yet.
Oh, maybe. I thought it was like right.
No, I think it was December 2020.
Yeah. So, but so that got shut down because the world stopped working. And then, we didn't really have an opportunity. Your mom was supposed to go to Galapagos.
She teased an opportunity. Yeah. So my mom and stepdad work at an engineering university in Indiana, and every year they do. Typically, let me back up. My stepdad is the president, so he's always part of like doing these things because it's part of what the president does. And they always do like a big trip somewhere. So like they've done Cuba and they've done some other places where like a certain group of students will go, and then the president will go as well, which would be my stepdad. And then my mom tags along because that's what she does. So they were supposed to go to Galapagos summer 2020.
Nice.
Yeah.
And she had told us about it, and I was like, that's so cool.
And we're like, oh,
we want to go.
She's like, I don't know if I want. It's kind of icky and it's nature. And we're like, oh my God, the Galapagos Islands. Are you kidding me? Marine iguanas, tortoises.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, they sent us the prices. It's really expensive. You can't go with us. Like, thanks, Mom.
But then they didn't get to go anyway.
Yeah, then they didn't get to go. So it's fine.
But someday, that is on my list of places I'd like to go.
Yeah.
For sure. My uncle went there before he passed away, and he was really into photography. So I have like his flash drive still. He gave me a flash drive with like his 1,000 pictures of sea lions, land iguanas, marine iguanas, Galapagos tortoises, blue-footed boobies. What are they called? The really cool looking orange and black crabs. I feel like they're like Halloween crabs. They've got some cool name, but what an amazing place and history right there. You know, like, can I go on the Beagle? Do you know what the Beagle is?
Boat.
Yeah. That was the ship Darwin was on when he went to the Galapagos. The HMS Beagle.
All right. I'm looking at the time. I'm going to end our live so that people can head over to the Down Under.
Their last show in Australia before they head over to the United States for the cruise. So even though the cruise is still a few weeks away, they are actually flying out in like 3 days or 4 days or something.
5 days.
5 days.
He said it at the beginning.
Oh, that's right, because we made the whole counting us fingers joke. So, yes.
Yeah.
So go check them out. We're going to be over there.
So, hi, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
You're getting us right when we're stopping.
What is my watch doing?
I don't know. You get notifications about weird things?
What's your depth?
It's a 0. The sad thing is, it won't work unless I'm underwater. Like it just said, submerge the watch to see your depth. I'm like, yeah, come on, I just want to play with it. But
Just
I
get
guess
in the bathtub.
Yeah, my mom will have things to say about that. There was a movie.
Matt,
Okay, so I'm sorry. Yes.
I'm gonna end this,
We
and
should
then you
end
can
it.
talk to Scott.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Oh, sorry, Brian. It goes to 40 meters or 130 feet.
It's rated for deeper, but they don't recommend using it past 130.
It's definitely for wreck diving only.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not a tech diving computer.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Go watch Down Under Cruisers. Bye.